Good evening. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. Haven't done a video for you in a little while, other than that short one the other night ahead of the storms. So I just want to take a look at the upcoming pattern and then deal a little bit with where things are going with the page. So I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Here's a look at the water vapor loop. Let me actually turn this onto the slideshow so you can see it better. Maybe. Okay. So here's a look at the water vapor loop of the hemisphere from the College of DuPage. And what you can see here is, of course, Indiana's way over here. You can see our approaching, there's an approaching front back here that might affect us a little bit tomorrow, but it looks like most of the energy from that's going to stay to the north. But an isolated pop-up storm tomorrow can't be ruled out. That's why I've left very isolated storms in there, especially as moisture loaded as the atmosphere is getting ready to become. It's going to become a lot more sticky. You probably felt it a little bit this afternoon. But so we can't rule out some very isolated storms. So if something pops up, I know it's possible tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, until the main front comes through on Tuesday. You can really see trough digging in back here into the northwestern U.S., and we're going to have a really serious punch of cool air coming in the middle of the week. There's no southeast ridge to really inhibit cold air from dropping in, or not cold air, but cooler air. It'll be cold relative to the mid and upper 80s that we're going to be seeing in the next couple of days. So then we kind of look back here at the Bering Sea. I always kind of watch it, and you see a ridge of high pressure that's departing the Aleutian Islands right now. That'll run about a 19-day delay, it seems like, between the Bering Sea and when things come through the central and eastern part of the U.S. So, we can expect a warm-up probably somewhere in that early part of October. But you can see here's another big storm moving into the Aleutian Islands. So, again, we can expect right after that warm-up, there might come another cool shot. That's probably going to be the pattern over the next few weeks as summer and fall begin to really battle it out. We've kind of been in a little more stagnant patterns where we've been generally really warm with just quick shots of cool behind storm systems. Now we're probably going to switch where the cool shots are going to last longer. The warm shots aren't going to be as extreme, but we'll still probably largely be warmer than average during October, but average in October is not what it is in August and early September. So we'll move ahead here and take a look at these on the 500 millibar charts. Here's the way things will look tomorrow. As you can see, we've got this big ridge of high pressure. There's 588 millibar, or decameter, excuse me, not millibar. This is a 500 millibar height. It's 588 decameter height right here, and so we're going to have this ridge kind of parked over the area over the next couple of days. So it's going to allow the warmer air in. A month ago, 588 ridge would have probably equaled 90 degrees or maybe a little bit warmer, but we're still going to be in the mid and the upper 80s the next couple of days. We bump ahead. This is a look at Sunday. Can see the ridge is really kind of buckled up high. It's buckling up high because you can see this big trough digging into the northwest, and we're in a more amplified pattern. So higher heights, deeper troughs. It's going to set the stage maybe for some a decent rain chance on Tuesday. We'll kind of bump ahead, and here is Tuesday just ahead of the front, and you can see we've got the ridge still buckled up here, but we can really see a trough starting to dig in here. It doesn't look as extreme as it did in the northwest. In fact, it's not going to be as extreme as it was in the northwest, but these are still some pretty deep trough for this time of year. Moving ahead to Wednesday, the trough is on in here, and now we're down to 570, 573 decameter height. So that's going to be some pretty chilly air right now. I'm leaving the forecast midweek. By this point, you probably have already seen the 7-day forecast. I've left high temperatures right around 70, maybe the lower 70s, upper 60s, kind of in that range midweek. And it's possible, some of the forecast models are showing us, with highs in the mid 60s, some even in the lower 60s. It's possible if this trough decides to dig in even a little bit deeper. Again, you can see there's nothing out here to the east. There's no southeast ridge to really stop it. So if this decides it wants to dig in a little deeper, we could be cooler like some of the models are showing. And I'll show you the GEFS here in a little bit, since I'm using the GEFS heights here. And again, these are just illustration purposes. I don't forecast by the models, but it's a good visualization anyway, and I think this is reasonably accurate. And then we'd get on into next Friday. You can see things kind of smooth out a little bit. Again, this is kind of following the way things happened, about 15 days ago in the Bering Sea. So it got a little more zonal up there, and so we'll modify. We'll come back into probably the mid 70s for a few days. You can see that by a week from Wednesday, it's really starting to, this would be on the 29th, it's starting to build this ridge back up here into the west. The trough is kind of deep farther out into the east, and we're kind of on this downslope from the high. So the air will be, kind of mild, again, probably mid 70s, maybe even upper 70s. I think the forecast models may be underplaying how warm we might get. I think, we might push up close to 80 degrees again. But that's still a couple of weeks out, so it's a little early to say for sure. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. And usually I'm going to err toward the season that's departing. In this case, summer is already established. Fall has to knock it out. So usually if I have a question, I'm going to err more toward the warmer side. That might not pan out. I always let you know that the cooler is possible. But until I really see the cool establish itself, I'm going to err toward the warmer. And GEFS has a pretty decent ridge pushing in here, and you can see it migrates its way east. But I kind of forgot to put that slide in. So this was as far as I went with the GEFS. This was by early October. It's still a decent ridge, kind of just to our west. We're still kind of on the downslope. I think we would still be a little bit mild with the deeper trough kind of out off of the east coast. What this next one is the EPS, or the European ensemble, for Monday the 27th. I just put this in here because the European kind of disagrees with the GEFS and is deeper with that trough and is farther west. You can see it's got the ridge farther out over the western U.S., so it allows this trough to be dug in a little more in our area, which would make us be cooler, around that 26th, 27th time frame. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I think it's probably too far west, but just know I just put this on here just so that you see something that's an alternative to what I think is going to happen, what the GEFS thinks is going to happen. So we'll just have to watch and see if maybe we end up being a little cooler toward the end of the month than what I think. Here's a look at the GEFS. And again, I don't forecast by these. But, here in this area where it had that ridge building up, you can see it's only got highs in the lower 70s. This is still above average, by the way. By the time we get to the end of September, our average high here in Anderson is 71. Our average low is about 47. So this is really kind of average temperatures. And here at the 28th, 29th, and by the time you're hitting early October and it's got us in the mid 70s, by that point, that's 4 or 5 degrees warmer than average. So that's the thing that we got to keep in mind, is warmer than average becomes all relative. I believe October is our month of the most extreme cooling. On average, our high temperatures will cool 12 degrees during October. Our lows will cool by 13 degrees during October. So mid 70s right now is about average. 74 degrees right now would be cooler than average, but by the beginning of October, it's, like I said, 4 or 5 degrees warmer than average. So we got to keep that in mind if you see my maps. I'm not a big fan of anomaly maps, and during these transitional seasons, and this is why, because they kind of can be deceptive. But I do think that even these 73 or 74 degree temperatures here at the beginning of October might be a touch cooler than what actually pans out, but we'll wait and see. But you can still see it's got the general trend right. We've got our heat, then we got the big cool down. You can see the GEFS for next Thursday has us getting up to 65 and has a low Thursday morning at 41 and Friday morning at 42. So, no, it's possible if that trough decides to dig a little deeper, because again, as I noted, there's no southeast ridge to stop it, so it may decide to do so. But you can see the general trend: hot, then we cool down, then we warm back up, then another little dip, and then we warm back up. There may be a bigger cool shot looming we're probably in the end of the first week, maybe beginning of second week of October, that we're going to need to watch out for. That's again what's going through the Bering Sea now. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out as it gets closer, because the Mad Julian oscillation can affect that. Right now it's kind of weak, but if it strengthens and in a phase 4, phase 5, it would be warmer. So we'll have to watch and see how those things pan out. The tropics can always decide to pick up, and tropical systems, hurricanes, tropical storms can affect the pattern as well, as we've seen before. So with that, we'll take a look a little deeper. We're getting closer to taking a look at winter. Here are the forecasts for the ENSO, and it's got us going into a pretty high probability. We're under a La Nina watch now. It's got a pretty high probability of us being into a La Nina by the October, November, December time frame. Usually I'll just go by the middle month in these. They've got them grouped in 3 months, and so I'll usually go by the what's on the middle month. And so November, December looks like probably the peak of La Nina, and then it would start to trend. The waters would begin to warm up by the forecast. Again, this is the chart I'm looking at here on this upper left. That's just a probability, but it kind of gives you an idea of strength as well. You can take a look over here at the IRI CPC, the Climate Prediction Center. Their forecast at the peak is to be just barely into a La Nina. That's if you love winter, that's probably a good thing. And again, it peaks it out. I think I mentioned even as far back as July that I think it's going to be more of a front-loaded winter. The last few winters, we've started off warm, gotten cold and snowy in January and February. This year, it may be more of a November, December, early January snow season and cold season, and then it may start to modify. It's still a long way out. I'm not making a winter forecast yet, but that's kind of the way the trends are looking. And so again, the CPC has, this is for the ENSO 3.4, which is what tends to affect our weather the most, kind of more out in the middle of the Pacific. And it peaks it out at a weak La Nina, and that's, if you like winter, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see a strong La Nina most of the time, because then it tends to get a little colder, but not as snowy. And this down here is just the ENSO 3.4 index, and you can see in July we were at kind of a weak El Nino type, not El Nino, but in a weak positive, and now we're down into almost a minus 0.4. Minus 0.5 is where it becomes technically La Nina. Of course, La Nina will be basin wide. So we can see the waters are cooling down, and that's by the time we're getting into late October, early November, we ought to be into La Nina, and we ought to start to see our pattern cool down in winter, really. If it's going to take a good shot at us, we ought to be, start seeing the signs of that by mid to late October, and that's probably when I'll make a winter forecast. So overall, just a recap here, generally we expect, average to slightly cooler for a lot of the last week of September. Again, I think we'll maybe start to modify right at the very end. Average to slightly warmer in October. October overall, there'll be ups, there'll be downs. I think it'll average out slightly warmer. But again, warmer is all relative, because by the end of October, our average, high temperatures are going to be in the upper 50s. And so warm there might be 63, 64 degrees, where that'd be way below average now. So we got to, again, keep that it's all relative. Again, when the cool spells happen, they could be potent. There may be a pretty potent one there. We'll watch for that, end of the first week, beginning of the second week of October. We'll see how that pans out. Rainfall as a whole, October is one of our drier months, as is September. So, and I think the drier trends are going to continue, but all it takes is one or two good storms to skew the statistics. We've seen that before, where we've been really dry, then you get a couple of big storms, dump a lot of rain. Statistically, it was a wet month, but in reality, it was a dry month with a couple of wet days where the water mostly ran off. And that may be kind of what we look at in October. Generally drier, but all it takes is that one or two storms to statistically change things. We're also getting into the time where it's time to start thinking about frost. Anderson's average first frost, or the average first time that we have a low temperature of 38 degrees or colder, is October 1st. I don't think we're going to get there, but some of the modeling suggests we might do that next week. So we'll wait and see. But statistically, it's October 1st. Last year, our first frost was on September 19th. We got a really early start last year. Our average first freeze is October 16th. Last year it happened on October 7th. So again, we were kind of cold this time of year, or this time last year, and usually that translates in as the patterns go up and down. If we're really cool right now, usually we're going to be kind of warm in November and December. We're kind of the opposite of that. So if you're a winter lover, right now the trends look pretty good. So that brings me to the last thing here, kind of the future of the page. I was going to shut it down at the end of last month. I extended it to today. Today was a decision day. So here's where I am right now. Since last time I talked about it, we've gone from 14 monthly subscribers to 23. We have about 15 or 20 regular donors in addition to those subscribers. A couple of them have made healthy donations. But new subscriptions and donations really have slowed significantly over the last month. And really right now, as far as anything new, is really all but stopped. So what I've done is I've downloaded the Square, Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle apps. And I'll get those set up probably over the weekend. I'll add a pinned post to the pages so that you can see the information. That way, maybe providing some additional ways to donate will be helpful. And we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, you can see in the screenshot there, I've created a page that will be set as a private page if we need to go to that. It's Madison County Weather Updates Premium. It's not the route I want to go, but if things stay the way they are, that's probably the way it'll go, because of the people who have put their money into it. I kind of don't just want to, take their money and run. So I still want to give them something because they, have contributed to try to help out. So we'll see how things go with the Square and Venmo, adding some additional ways to contribute. And of course, some people like to send a check. If you want to do that, just private message, and I'll send you the information on how you can do that. A couple of people have done so. So, and again, amounts aren't not a big deal. I'm not putting any kind of requirement on it. I have two people who are doing $1 a month because that's all they can afford. And, with as many people, we've got almost 12,000 people just on the Facebook page. Counting the other pages and eliminating some overlap, it's probably over 12,000. I shared to 3 other pages, which increases the audience. So probably this page's reach is 25 to 30,000 people. And so, if everybody did $1 a month, gosh, that could be freaking huge. And I'm not somebody who just wants to take the money for myself. I'll put it into better equipment, better production. I want to give back too. I want to do things to help the county out as well. So at any rate, we'll see how these additional things go, and if need be, then I'll move over to just the premium page, and then the regular pages would just be occasionally updated. I'm not going to leave people in the lurch if there's severe weather or anything like that. I will update all these pages that are normal pages right now, and hopefully stay our normal pages. If I do go to premium, I will still, during severe weather or major snow or any kind of major events, I'm still going to post to free pages. So, because public information is important to me. So, at any rate, we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I'll do a pinned post with the information for every single way that we have for you to donate. And of course, you can go to madcoweather.com at any time, and that's where you can do the monthly, and or you can donate at any amount. So anything is helpful. So, and we'll just take it from there. So, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all who for trusting us for your weather information, and to those of you who have put your money into it. I really appreciate that, and hopefully, out of the thousands of people, if we could get a couple hundred people to be monthly subscribers and regular donors, that would be that's really what I'm hoping to get to. So, and right now we're at like 35 or 40 between the two. So, long way to go. Hopefully we can make some progress, and I can keep this stuff free for everybody. So with all that, this is Michael Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. Thank you all. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later.